I'm Paul Peck, football voice of the Buffalo Bulls. The 2008 season was memorable in so many ways. What's your favorite memory? Was it a coach who made everyone believe? A big play offense that believed it could not be stopped? How about a defense that believed the next big hit or takeaway was just a play away? For 50 years, these guys never stopped believing. 4 times, this team never stopped believing, even if it took more than 4 quarters. Maybe it was something you wouldn't believe unless you saw it with your own eyes. Believe me, no one will ever forget this championship season. So let's look back at a team that was relentless to finish, the 2008 Buffalo Bulls.
The year was 1958. In Buffalo, New York, a football team was putting together a magical season before being blindsided by discrimination and human indignity, which forced the team to make a decision that would echo across the generations. 50 years ago, the Bulls of Buffalo were a championship team with a bowl berth to Orlando to play in the Tangerine Bowl, claiming the Lambert Cup, emblematic of the top small school in the East.
It's 4th and goal, and the Bulls have got to get it across from the 19. There is no tomorrow in this series. Bucati rolls out and reverses to Evan. And here he comes. It's Kenny Bourne. He's got plenty of blocking. He's going to go in on his side of the field.
They made headlines again 50 years later for the game they didn't play, turning down the bowl bid when it was discovered UB's 2 African-American players would not be allowed to compete in the game. The year is 2008. A Buffalo football team featuring a nationally respected coaching staff led by former Heisman Trophy finalist Turner Gill is once again at the center of the college football universe. Like their predecessors from 50 years ago, this team shows uncommon courage, resilience, and belief. Like the 58 team, they are tough, physical, and never stop playing until the final whistle. And like the 58 team, they will never be forgotten by Bulls fans everywhere. They represent their school with a flair for the dramatic. They never give up and never give in. They earn the school's 2nd bowl bid, bringing the great accomplishments of the 1958 team into sharp focus once again. They defy the odds, share a common love of the game, and for each other, they become champions in a resounding upset that rocks the college football world.
True hands to James up the middle, bullseye! It's a Buffalo touchdown! Go crazy, Bulls fans! Your team is the 2008 MAC champions!
They are relentless to finish. Through 6 games of the much-anticipated 2008 football season, the Bulls were already involved in 3 games that came down to the final play of the contest.
2nd down play for the Bulls. Willie back in the pocket, throws in the end zone. It's a touchdown!
3 more games that would leave Bulls fans on the edge of their seats still awaited this magical season.
Starks in the open at the 50. He's got a blocker at the 30, at the 20. James Starks is going to score a Buffalo touchdown.
But at that moment, things looked anything but magical. After dropping back-to-back games, Buffalo owned a 2-4 record at the season's midway point. A season that featured so much promise was on the brink of veering completely off course. It didn't look any brighter when the Bulls trailed the Army Black Knights by 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter in front of a sellout crowd at UB Stadium on homecoming weekend. It was at that moment the Bulls stared down disappointment and adversity and began a stretch of football that featured unfathomable finishes, unforgettable performances, and a team that simply refused to be denied. But none of that seemed likely when the UB Stadium scoreboard read Army 24, Buffalo 10 early in the 4th quarter. However, just like he did so many times during his record-breaking senior year, quarterback Drew Willie put the Bulls on his back and produced spectacular results. Willie and senior receiver Ernest Jackson carved up the Black Knights secondary in the fourth quarter, and the Bulls' turnover-producing defense gave UB the opportunity they needed to send the game to overtime.
So the defense has to force a 3-and-out here. It's a handoff to Mooney, the big fullback, at the 20, at the 25, at the 30, and a rumble, ball loose. Bulls have got it.
Out.
Kendrick Hawkins picks it up, returning.
He's
at
got
the 30,
blockers.
at the 20, he's got a blocker. He's brought down inside the 15.
Once in overtime, the Bulls used a clutch field goal by A.J. Principe and the noise of a frenzied UB Stadium to force the Knights into a long field goal attempt to tie the game.
And it is
No good!
The Bulls win!
A crushing loss was avoided. A run to history had begun, and the Bulls knew they were back on track and ready to chase their MAC championship goals. The Army game saw Drew Willie answer the bell when things looked bleakest for the Bulls. It was a character trait that would show itself time and again in 2008 as Willie became the most accomplished quarterback in UB history. If the quarterback is the heartbeat of a football team, Willie's cool demeanor but fiery competitiveness kept the Bulls pumping all season long. Before the season began, Willie had boldly predicted the 2008 season would be bowl or bust. Anything less than a bowl game would be a disappointment for the talented Bulls. Through a campaign that saw him throw 25 touchdown passes, become UB's first quarterback to throw for 3,000 yards in a season, and be among the final 10 contenders for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award given to the nation's outstanding senior quarterback, Willie backed up his brash prediction with a highly accurate right arm, a slew of comeback victories, and sterling leadership.
Shotgun formation for Drew Willie. He gets the snap. He's got time looking deep down the far side of the field. It is caught by David Roosevelt. It's a UB touchdown.
It all started in Buffalo's season-opening blowout of UTEP. The Bulls, trying to cope with increased expectations after tying for the Mid-American Conference East Division title in 2007, came out firing on all cylinders. Led by their senior signal caller, the New Jersey native would throw for a career-high 4 touchdown passes, burning the Miners' blitzes repeatedly with pinpoint strikes to a variety of receivers.
Shotgun snap to Drew Willie. He looks, he throws, looking into the end zone. Touchdown!
Oh, yeah.
Gary Rice with the touchdown grab from Drew Willie.
The Bulls' defense set the tone for the season by forcing 3 UTEP turnovers, including a pair of interceptions by freshman linebacker John City. The emphatic 42-17 win over the visiting Miners, considered one of the Conference USA's preseason favorites, raised eyebrows across the nation for the first, but most certainly not the last time, in 2008. Week 2 saw the Bulls travel to the Steel City for a battle with top 25 and Big East title contender Pittsburgh. Through the course of a tightly fought game, it was clear the Bulls would not take a back seat to one of the Big East's most talented teams. Buffalo would shut down preseason All-American tailback LaShawn McCoy and make plenty of big plays on their own.
Pump fakes again. Now throws deep down the middle. Still wide open. Hamlin. Bullseye. It's a Buffalo touchdown.
That's what Buffalo needed to stay in this game.
Leading just 17-16 entering the fourth quarter, the Panthers had just enough to drop the Bulls to 1-1 on the season with a hard-fought 27-16 win. Next up for the Bulls, the emerging rivalry with MAC East newcomer Temple. The year before, the Bulls had hung a decisive 42-7 win on the Owls in Philadelphia. But the MAC opener for both teams would be decidedly more competitive. In a back-and-forth struggle that featured 3 ties and 3 lead changes, the Bulls and Owls would engage in an instant classic. Willie would complete 29 of 42 passes for a career-best 348 yards to keep Buffalo in the game, including driving UB to a pair of second-half scoring drives that would put Buffalo ahead 24-21 in the game's final minutes.
The kick is good. A.J. Principe gives the Bulls the lead.
The Owls, however, would not go quietly, as a last-minute touchdown march appeared to be the game-winning score. That would set up the most unforgettable finish in the nearly 100-year history of Bulls football, and one that would be replayed thousands of times by every highlight show in America.
Can UB pull off a miracle? Drew Willie in the shotgun. He gets the snap. Here it is. Willie rolls to the right. He sets up. He throws into the end zone. Ball up in the air. It is caught. Touchdown! Touchdown! The Bulls win! Do you believe it? The Bulls win! The players storm off the sideline to gather around Naaman Roosevelt, who has just won the game.
The answered prayer would not only move the Bulls to 2-1 on the season, it would later spell the difference in Buffalo claiming the MAC East title outright. In Week 4, the Bulls would travel to Columbia, Missouri for a highly publicized meeting with number 5 ranked Missouri and one of the nation's most potent offenses. To say the Bulls were ready to match their Big 12 opponent hit for hit would be an understatement. Buffalo's defense packed a punch, forcing 3 fumbles, recovering them all, and jolting the much-hyped Mizzou receiving corps all day long. The Bulls' penchant for forcing turnovers played perfectly with their bend-but-don't-break defense. All year long, Buffalo showed an uncommon ability to knock the ball loose, a trait perfected every day in practice. For the season, Buffalo produced a staggering 38 forced fumbles. 25 of them the Bulls recovered. On the year, Buffalo would tie for 7th nationally with 33 turnovers gained.
Might have been stopped, but second effort he should have it.
It's a fumble.
Buffalo ball!
The aggressiveness of the defense was characterized by the hard-hitting styles of junior free safety Mike Newton and sophomore linebacker Justin Winters. Newton, the heart and soul of the UB defense, racked up 112 tackles, including 69 solo stops, and created his own highlight reel of bone-jarring tackles. Newton accounted for 4 turnovers on the year, including 2 fumble recoveries, an interception, and a forced fumble. With a year to go, Newton will have opposing receivers hearing his footsteps again in 2009. Winters, meanwhile, a walk-on to UB's program, earned third-team All-MAC honors after leading all UB defenders with 125 tackles. A lightning-quick linebacker who made plays sideline to sideline, Winters led Buffalo with 4 forced fumbles, had 2 sacks, and also broke up 4 passes. With a loss at Missouri, the Bulls fell to 2-2 on the season, and things appeared bleaker still, as standout tailback James Starks missed that game with a foot injury. Though Starks would return against 2-time MAC champion Central Michigan, the Bulls lost a heartbreaker in Mount Pleasant. In another back-and-forth affair that featured 5 lead changes, Buffalo stood toe-to-toe with a MAC preseason favorite, only to see a mere matter of inches spell the difference between victory and defeat. Buffalo would again taste bitter defeat against Western Michigan, when the Broncos rallied from a 2-touchdown deficit in the final 5 minutes to tie the game, before shocking the Bulls in overtime. Lesser teams may have folded. The Bulls, however, the sting of 2 last-second defeats still fresh in their mind, vowed to find a way to change their season around. And they did just that the very next week in a stunning comeback win over Army.
From the 16-yard line. They'll have 2 plays to get it in, but Willie back to pass, throws into the end zone for Ernest Jackson. It's a touchdown!
What a catch!
At 3-4 overall and 1-2 in MAC play, the Bulls had a long way to go to accomplish their preseason goals of winning the MAC East, playing for a MAC title, and earning a bowl berth. If the Bulls wanted to reach these goals, they would need to play their best football in November, win in 3 venues they had never claimed victory in, and beat a school they had never been victorious over. Soon enough, it would become a November to remember for Bulls fans. It started with a midweek game at Peden Stadium in Ohio, a stadium the Bulls had lost in each trip during their 10-year history in the MAC. This time, however, UB's turnover-inducing defense forced a season-high 6 fumbles, recovering 3 of them, and scored in a way they hadn't in over 13 seasons.
No.
Extra point attempt is blocked.
Fantastic.
It's blocked. It's picked up by the Bulls. They can return this for 2 points. Andre Smith's at the 50, at the 40, 30, 20, 10. It is Andre Smith who is able to outrun everybody.
Tailback James Starks, fully recovered from his injury, would give a hint of things to come. with 185 yards on 30 carries and a pair of touchdowns.
Give us to Starks. He has the first down and more. He'll turn on the Jets.
Starks, a junior from Niagara Falls, continued to be among the most explosive players in the country while shattering numerous records in a magnificent season. Despite missing nearly 3 games to injury, Starks would blister the single-season rushing record with over 1,300 yards on the ground while becoming the school's career rushing leader, with a season remaining in his already brilliant career. A threat to go the distance every time he touches the ball, Starks sparked the Bulls' late-season rally by going over 100 yards rushing in 5 of the Blue and White's last 6 games. His 16 rushing touchdowns matched the school record, and he is already the all-time leading scorer in UB history. Week 9 brought several milestones to UB Stadium. On an election night in America that would see the first African-American ever voted into the White House, the Bulls would make some history of their own. In their first ever nationally televised game in UB Stadium, Buffalo would rout Miami of Ohio 37-17 in front of a rowdy student section, snapping the 10-game win streak the Red Hawks had enjoyed. The Bulls put on an aerial show as Willie threw for 245 yards, spreading the ball out to 6 receivers and throwing a pair of electrifying touchdown passes. Throughout the season, the Bulls got production from a plethora of talented receivers. Senior Ernest Jackson had 45 receptions for over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. Another Bull with big play capabilities, Jackson had a memorable game at Missouri, finding the end zone 3 times.
Will be fielded by Ernest Jackson at his 3-yard line. He'll start left, he'll reverse right to the 30, to the 35, to the 50. He could go. He turns behind him. No one will catch him. Bullseye. It's a Buffalo touchdown.
Another consistent threat for the Bulls was talented slot receiver Brett Hamlin. The junior from Florida racked up 459 yards on 38 receptions and found the end zone 5 times. Hamlin was Willie's favorite 3rd down target and was fearless catching balls over the middle. Junior tight end Jesse Rack was as adept at blocking as he was catching the ball. The versatile Rack hauled in 21 catches on the season, while helping Bulls running backs account for over 1,800 rushing yards. The win against Miami left the Bulls in a first-place tie in the MAC East with Akron, with a nationally televised game in the historic Rubber Bowl to determine who would gain the edge going into the season's final 2 weeks. In the final game the Zips would play in the Rubber Bowl, the 2 teams would stage one of the greatest games in the 68-year-old stadium's history. In a back-and-forth battle of epic proportions, the Bulls raced to an early 10-point lead, but could not put the Zips away. Akron would tie the game at 24-24 with just 23 seconds left in regulation. And again, the Bulls were faced with adversity in a crucial game. Once again, the Bulls would dig deep and find more magic. On and on the Classic went into a 4th overtime with the teams trading scores, both teams having opportunities to win, until the UB defense got the game's crucial turnover.
Gets it, gives the handoff. Ball's loose. Bulls have got it. The Bulls have got the football.
That would set up one of the most meaningful field goal attempts in UB history.
Can A.J. Principe put the Bulls in the lead in the MAC East Division? Holder is Hamlin. Snapper is Norrell. Kick up on the way. The kick is good! The Bulls win!
The Bulls defense again gave Buffalo an opportunity to win, as they did throughout the season. Throughout the 08 campaign, the stars were many on the defensive side of the ball, including the MAC's best secondary. Strong safety Devontae Shannon, a do-everything defender, earned first-team All-MAC honors for the 2nd straight year. Finishing with 121 tackles, 2nd on the team, Shannon had several benchmark games, recording over 15 tackles twice, including a staggering 20 stops in the win over Army. Not to be forgotten in UB's secondary was quietly consistent sophomore Dominic Cook, another local standout. Cook would finish with 76 tackles and was Buffalo's top ball hawk, recording a team-best 3 interceptions while recovering a team-high 4 fumbles, tied for the most in school history.
Throws, it's intercepted, picked off by the Bulls. Here comes the other way at the 45, at the 50. Dominic Cook at the 40-yard line.
Now, with control of the MAC East in their own hands, the Bulls would travel to another venue, Deutsch Perry Stadium in Bowling Green, where UB had never won.
Let's go out and let's take the championship. Let's take the championship.
That stat didn't look to change for most of the game. Buffalo fell behind 27-7 early in the fourth quarter. In a season of incredible finishes, mind-boggling comebacks, and edge-of-your-seat thrillers, what happened next still has to be seen to be believed. Behind the red-hot arm of Drew Willie, Buffalo's never-say-die attitude was never more apparent. After a botched field goal by Bowling Green that would have seemingly closed the game out with 4:05 remaining, Buffalo trailed 27-13. When Willie and the offense went from impressive to otherworldly, ignoring the Arctic temperatures and the weight of the season bearing down on them, the UB offense could not be stopped. The improbable came to pass to force overtime.
Principe bounces it. It scoots along the turf. It is loose.
Good kick.
And it is, who's got it? It bounced off the hands of one Bowling Green player.
Buffalo's got it.
Football. Gets the snap. Blitz coming. Throws short. Caught by Naaman. Van Naaman is down inside the 25. Drew gets it. He looks. He throws. End zone.
Got it.
Touchdown.
Wow, does this team have heart or what?
Are you ready for more overtime?
After forcing overtime, Willie's dramatics continued as he connected with Hamlin for an acrobatic touchdown that would briefly give UB the lead before Bowling Green scored to tie. The UB defense would then stop the Falcons and set up the play that would send Buffalo to its first MAC championship game with a MAC East clinching score.
Hands the ball to James. Hole on the left side. James at the 15, at the 10.
It's gone. Touchdown.
Touchdown. The Bulls win.
Unbelievable.
Division championship. Bowl game. Win. Celebrate.
Among the many heroes for the Bulls in the game, junior wide receiver Naaman Roosevelt, whose late season clutch performance ranked him among the best in all of college football, something his season's numbers verified. Roosevelt, who went for over 100 yards in 7 games, ranked 9th in the nation in receiving yards per game, with a record-breaking 1,402 yards through the air. His 104 receptions were easily a school record and ranked him 8th nationally. For the year, he found the end zone a school record 13 times, and his toughness and acrobatic ability made him a showstopper all season long. With a year left, he joined tailback James Starks as first-team All-MAC selections and honorable mention All-Americans as chosen by Sports Illustrated.
Into the end zone, touchdown! Naaman Roosevelt's third of the game. It's
the Bowling Green victory left the Bulls with a meaningless final regular season game at home against Kent State. Among the seniors honored before the game were starting offensive tackle Ray Norrell, center Chris Lawsey, and right guard Jeff Niedermeyer, whose play on the Bulls' offensive line had set the tone for the Bulls' record-breaking offense. The 3 seniors were part of an offensive line with junior Andrew West and sophomore Peter Bittner that spearheaded an offense that scored the most points in school history and allowed UB's big 3 of Willie, Starks, and Roosevelt to set new single-season standards in passing, rushing, and receiving. The balanced Bulls offense rushed for 27 touchdowns and threw for 25 scores. The Bulls would drop a narrow 24-21 decision to Kent State, only adding speculation that Buffalo would be outmatched against undefeated and nationally ranked Ball State in the MAC championship game. On December 5th at Ford Field in Detroit, the Bulls made history before they even took the field. The championship game against 12-0 Ball State would be the first ever conference title the Bulls would play for in their 94 years of football.
This is fun time right here. Talked about being the most physical football team here tonight. That's what it's all about.
The Bulls and their fans had waited a lifetime for this chance, and they were ready. And it didn't take long for Ball State to know that finishing an unbeaten season would not come easy on this night.
Willie to throw, fade pass into the end zone for Naaman. touchdown!
What a catch.
Buffalo trailed 17-14 midway through the third quarter when another play would enter the lexicon of UB fans everywhere. Ball State quarterback Nate Davis would look to put a stamp on the game, but a trio of UB defenders would combine to produce a play now known as the fumble.
For the end zone. Ball's out. Ball picked up by the Bulls. Mike Newton has got it. 30, 40. He is going to score a Buffalo touchdown.
One possession later, fate, history, and a football program's quest would all become reality.
Sherrod Lott at the 40, 30, 20, 10. Bullseye. It's another Buffalo defensive touchdown.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Buffalo would close the game in style, tacking on 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and not only claiming the MAC title, but doing so in convincing style over the number 12 team in the nation. What Coach Turner Gill said after the game put a lump in the throat of Bulls fans, and indeed college football fans everywhere.
What does this win mean for you in this program?
Speechless, man. Speechless.
Why are you speechless?
Just proud of these guys. Just proud of them, man.
You've had a lot of magical moments in your football career. Where does this one rate, Coach?
Probably the greatest, just because of where this program was at. And these guys come through in 3 years. Become MAC champions. I talked about being champions, and they did it. They did it. I'm proud of them.
They had won the MAC championship, beaten a 2-touchdown favorite in the process, and after the game, with 58 team member Willie Evans in the locker room, earned and accepted the school's first bowl bid to the International Bowl in Toronto. The Bulls had set a goal that at times appeared perilously out of reach, had persevered courageously, and had been relentless to the finish. In their first bowl game, it seemed the season's second-half magic was going to produce another stunning result over the favored Connecticut Huskies.
Bounces off his hands. He kicks it into the end zone. It is loose. Who's got it? It's a Buffalo touchdown. Unbelievable. First down and goal for the Bulls from the 4-yard line. Willie under center. Pitch left for Starks. Looking to turn to left. Corner buries the shoulder. Touchdown.
In the end, the Huskies and the nation's leading rusher in Donald Brown had a bit too much for the Bulls and overcame a 2017 first-half deficit to win. It didn't matter. No loss could erase what this team and this program had accomplished. For a magical 6-week run, Buffalo's football program was everywhere. From championship highlights against Bowling Green and Ball State to Hail Mary heroics to national recognition for head coach Turner Gill, the Bulls had arrived in the national consciousness and become one of the biggest stories in all of college football. Indeed, the annals of college football will indicate that Florida was the BCS champion in 2008. But it will also be remembered as the season that the Buffalo Bulls were on the lips of college football fans across the nation, swelled an alumni base with pride, took Western New York and a campus on a magical journey, and proved once and for all that Buffalo can and will win championships, now and in the future. To the 2008 Buffalo Bulls, relentless to finish became more than a motto. It became a living, breathing testament to a season of promise fulfilled and conjured images of a team from 50 years ago that will likewise never be forgotten.